Has it not been said by the defense that Brian Kohlberger has no ties to these victims? But what if he doesn't need any ties to these victims? What if his ties to the home is through Bethany Funke? How out of the realm of possible is it that Dylan and Bethany were texting because her and Brian Kohlberger were outside? It's not that far-fetched when you think about it. And is it not possible that that's the exculpatory evidence the defense is talking about? So really, what is this exculpatory evidence? Well, let's talk about it.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Welcome to The Point, YouTube's only legitimate open discussion channel, where none of your comments are going to be blocked by any crazed moderator because I don't have any.
I mean, to be honest, you're going to have to trust us on that at this point.
And today's video stems from a question from one of my subscribers, Jen1838. Now, have we all not heard that Bethany Funke saw or heard something that is unique to her own experience? And this is something Dylan doesn't have any hand in. And have we also not thought it was odd that in the probable cause affidavit, one of the key witnesses to this whole crime scene barely has a mention?
I mean, to be honest, you're going to have to trust us on that at this point.
It is loaded with verbiage from the authorities. It is loaded with statements from Dylan Mortensen. But it is awfully odd that there is little to no mention of Bethany Funke being at that home or seeing a single thing. So what is this exculpatory evidence that she saw? Is it not fair to say that she saw or heard something that goes against this whole arrest of Brian Kohlberger? But what could it have been? Well, we know from the probable cause affidavit that she was at Sigma Chi. Now, what have we heard about Sigma Chi during the night of this incident? There have been a lot of rumors online that there was some sort of confrontation between Ethan and Raisinbrand over Xana. Now, of course, this is all alleged and all speculation. But what if she heard something during or after that fight in passing? What if she heard one of the fraternity members make the statement that they're going to get him? Or there's going to be some type of attack? Or there's going to be some type of retaliation? Is that not a valid theory? Is that not something that could happen? Because if something like that happened, would that not be a valid potential suspect? Or is this exculpatory evidence what Bethany saw later on that night? Now, some reports have said that she saw an individual without any clothes running out of the back of the house, while others have said she saw an individual without any clothes running out of the front of the house. It is, of course, to mention that none of that's been verified, but how damaging to the state's argument would it be if that was true? They are making the case that Dylan Mortensen saw an individual clad in black, with bushy eyebrows exiting out of the back. But if saying she saw an individual without any clothes on, either running out of the back or the front, it would almost read like a game over scenario in that type of event. So is that the exculpatory evidence they're talking about? But really, how far-fetched is it that Bethany Funke and Brian Kohlberger know each other? Remember back to those hearings, Ann Taylor clearly said she is having a very difficult time getting some of these witnesses to talk to her. They don't want to help the defense in any type of evidence gathering. So what if one of those witnesses is Bethany Funke? Is it out of the realm of possible that she is one of those witnesses who doesn't want to in any way, shape, or form help the defense? And if so, why would that be? In a pursuit of justice, you would want the truth, you would want the facts laid out, and you would want everybody to have a fair shake so all the details could be presented during the trial. So what if Bethany Funke has some sort of relationship with Brian Kohlberger and she's ashamed of it? Now, according to the state, Brian Kohlberger has been to Moscow several times and he's very familiar with the area. But are we saying now that it is completely impossible that Bethany Funke has never been to Pullman? Well, according to this court case right here, an individual who has the exact same name as Bethany Funke has had a trial in Whitman. So if she's been in Whitman, then she's probably been to Pullman. It is not necessarily that unbelievable that two individuals who attend a university may have ran into each other. We could make the assumption that neither one of them had a whole lot of money, so they probably shopped at the same type of stores. And what if they did run into each other? What if they develop some type of relationship, whether it be friendship strictly or the initial stages of a romantic relationship? Is that out of the realm of possible here? And I would ask the question now, of the two surviving roommates, who do we know for a fact absolutely does not want to go back to that university or to that town? We know Dylan's been spotted in the area. We know that Dylan has been partying, and that's fine. Everybody's got to heal. But has Bethany Funke not absolutely fought to not go back to Moscow? What could that possible reason be? So what if there is a scenario where they were dating? The reports originally were that all the roommates were asleep and they didn't hear or know anything, and I personally believe that was the story that was put out because they didn't know who the suspect was and they didn't have anybody in mind and they didn't want to place any of these two people in danger, and that's fine. But we now know from later reports that not only were they awake, they were texting. So what about a scenario where Dylan and Bethany were texting that night, but Bethany happened to be outside on a date with Brian Kohlberger? Maybe at some point in time they happened to separate. Maybe he said, hey, I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick. And at the time he's going through the home to possibly go use the bathroom, he stumbles into the tail end of a crime scene. And maybe it was Brian Kohlberger stumbling into this crime scene, looking at these poor victims and saying, it's okay, I'm here to help you. And at that moment, Dylan Mortensen opens the door. Now we have a scenario where Dylan sees Brian Kohlberger in the middle of a horrific crime scene. And Brian notices Dylan in the middle of a horrific crime scene. He puts two and two together because he is a criminology major. And he realizes there's a good chance he's going to be implicated for this crime. Would that not explain the lack of DNA found in the home? Would that also not explain the lack of DNA found in the cars or in the apartment, according to the defense? This isn't necessarily a far-fetched idea when you actually lay this stuff out. So what if that is the exculpatory evidence the defense was trying to get heard? Or maybe there's a scenario here where Bethany knows this, and now that there's no preliminary hearing, she's sitting back waiting for an opportunity at trial to just blow this whole thing wide open and say, yes, I know him. We have met. He was there, but he was there with me. I didn't want to say anything about this at the time because I didn't want to be targeted on social media. Is that a far-fetched scenario? As always, you can feel free to disagree on this channel. I'm not blocking or removing any comments. If you see any of these things differently, you can let me know down in the comments below. Other than that, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. Y'all stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.